Welcome back to Recovery APN. I am your host, Dan, and I'm joined by my co-host, Andy. How you doing?
Pretty good, pal. Excited to be here.
Yeah. We have another exciting guest on our show today.
Yeah, we do. It's been an exciting day for us.
I don't think you're supposed to tell the audience that we've done 3 in a row. I
didn't tell the audience that. I
was
just said it's been an exciting day.
But
just
yeah.
another day, the day at APN. Like, what a gift. What a gift it is. Beautiful weather, you know what I mean? It's great.
Please excuse my co-host.
Focus. Let's go. Reel it in.
So I'm very fortunate to have another professional athlete on the podcast. And I don't know, for me, it's like, I find it like very intriguing to hear their stories, because the more and more I listen to them and hear like what they've gone through,
I think I know where you're going.
the more and more like I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, you paint a picture of how different, right? Hey, professional athlete, but with mental health and with substance abuse, those feelings underneath of the exterior of who the world thinks I am. It's we're struggling with depression, we're struggling with anxiety, and that doesn't matter if I'm 19, if I'm 12, if I'm 75, and where I'm from, whether it's Maine, New York, or California or Kansas, and all in between. And addiction and mental health doesn't discriminate. It kind of goes anywhere the hell it wants, and we talk about it, but they don't teach us in school what it looks like. So for the longest time we have no idea what's really going on in our heads, and how to not feel the way that makes us feel.
Yeah, it's and to provide them this platform, and again, like the people that are listening that maybe don't have relationships with professional athletes or other alumni, right? They don't necessarily realize that like they're just another individual, right?
Yeah.
That is going through the daily life that everyone experienes.
Human, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just another human, right?
Human people. What was the word we said?
Oh, I can't wait for this one.
Never mind.
Come on, let's hear it. No, let's hear it.
I'm out. No, focus.
Unbelievable. But without further ado, Turk, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Turk, sorry you had to see this exchange of the passive aggressiveness from my co-host over here.
No, I almost thought y'all forgot about me.
That's true.
We try to like have somewhat of like a conversation before to like switch things up, but like I never thought about like that person.
It's like, when are they going to? Yeah, we didn't tell him. We didn't tell him we were going to start like that. Reel it in, bud. Reel it in. Be a professional. Let's go.
For 9.
Be a professional.
No, awesome, man. Thank you for joining us, dude. And coming in, man. I know it was a tough travel journey for you.
Yes, things like that happen sometimes. You got to adjust.
Yeah. But yeah, I know we kind of chatted before, but just wanted to give you kind of lay of land and what the structure of the podcast is, and kind of like our target audience, just so you're aware. The goal, right, is we have APN alumni join us to share about their experience, right? What brought them to APN, what their experience was like at APN, and when they left APN, how they utilized the tools they learned here in their everyday life, and kind of like what they're up to now. And so, listen, it's your story and your experiences. So like, yes, we'll ask the questions, but whatever you feel comfortable with in sharing, obviously we'd love to hear it, man.
Let's go.
So first question, right? Like,
Love it.
There had to have been something, right, that like brought you to APN, right? Whether it been from childhood leading up to when you walk through the doors, or a certain moment. So I'm kind of curious on like what brought you to APN.
Well, it was the look on my wife's face. I stopped playing football in 2014, and I fell into a major depression. I never assumed I would be one of those guys that fall into a major depression. And when your wife is telling you you're depressed, that's the last thing you want to hear. So I also have a kid. I have a son, August, that has special needs, and I also have a little girl as well. So I looked at myself in the mirror and see, hey, who do you want to become as a person, as a husband, and as a father? And, I started taking the advice that my wife started saying, to heart. I was seeing mannerisms change in myself. I was a very I don't want to say outspoken, but very fun person to hang around with. And as the years start going by, I start seeing I'm not hanging out with anyone. I'm not calling anyone. When someone calls me, I'm not picking up. So I start distancing myself away. So I didn't want to become that guy. So it was imperative for me to make a change, as soon as possible.
I think that, like the behavior change, right? We're always the last to know, right, with the behavior change. And I also think, let me speak for me. My initial reaction when people were like, yo, you're different. Like, what's going on? Hey, that person's, you're attacking me. Stop attacking me. Get, back up kind of deal. And it took a while for me to hear, hey, what's going on with you, to actually, absorb that and say, hey, Andy, what's going on in my life right now? Like I'm not the man that I want to be. I'm falling short in my professional life and all everywhere, right? And then be able to then take a step. So I commend you to be able to hear that feedback and look at it and say, not dismiss it, right? And then actually take the step to work on coming to APN. Absolutely.
And one of the main things that I kind of looked at that was, in my football career, I always did the things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to come here at all. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to open up. I didn't want to unpack what was packed up for years or even decades. So me not wanting to come here, it was really a sign for me that I really needed to be here.
Oh, hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
Yeah, you said like two things that were like so spot on that I think are common themes of other players and also other alumni,
yeah.
Right? And it's the isolation, right? That like the isolation where it's like social person. Now I'm isolating. I'm not making calls, and now I'm not answering the calls. Now I'm not taking advice, and then,
not wanting to come
and being uncomfortable.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. Like for so long, people like just do what they think is right and what's comfortable because it's easy. It's the easier, softer way. When in reality, the way you grow as a human, right, and you're making strides and doing what's best is getting uncomfortable, like doing the uncomfortable thing. And I think that's in all facets of life. And I think that's a very common story: mental health, substance abuse, man, women, older, younger, player, not player, right? I think that's just a human's journey.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I feel like you was going to allude to a lot of the athletes and just say regular population. A lot of people make that assumption that athletes, since they have X amount of luxury things or they're getting compensated in a nice way, that they don't have any type issues. So in saying that, I always wanted to make sure that I was one of the guys that always made the change. I don't know if I'm a role model or if I could be a role model or any of that, but I know I wanted to be the best person I can possibly be, and I'm still working on that journey right now.
Lead by example.
Absolutely.
The
best kind of leadership. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think, right, and I like you bring up a great point, right? And like hand up, right? Call myself out as a kid, right? Being a huge, being an athlete growing up, looking up to other like athletes and stars, right? Like extravagant cars, houses, right? Getting contracts, right? Oh, they're living the life, right? They have the best life possible, right? And until you actually unpack and speak to someone and not get that like stupid vision out of your head, right? You realize that they're just another individual, just like yourself, right? They've gone through the same trials and tribulations just like you. Yes, you may be from a different state. Yes, you may be different religion. You may be, a different height, weight, whatever it is. But like hearing these stories, right? Like I'm so surprised of how much like I was wrong, right? And I guess it's not surprising, but it's like how much I neglected the fact and how like narrow-minded I was as a child, right? And I guess I wouldn't know, but like it's so impactful to me to hear that, right? And hear and speak to the people like players or other lawyers, mothers coming here that have to leave their children, 21-year-olds, whatever it may be. It's so inspiring.
I mean, and it's difficult too at the same time. You really have to have true insight in oneself for you to really have that deep dive. I mean, if I feel as though being an athlete, it helps a little in this particular journey, just off of having to overcome adversity, having to do things you're unaccustomed to doing, or having to do things to become better. So this is something that I'm glad I'm a part of. This is something that I'm glad that I'm going to have to be a part of for the rest of my life. I just want to make sure that this journey is as best as possible. I mean, this is something that's quite difficult. under assumption when I first came here, I thought it was going to be, one way, and it was just going to be this way, and all we're going to do is this. But after my first day or two, and I'm like, okay, I'm tired of crying now. You know what? Like, I'm tired of doing this. All the boys around me, they're looking at me this way. But to be honest, it was amazing for me, being able to unpack around my peers, around people that I played with or I knew, or even just some of the other people that I made here, that I made friends here. Just hearing different journeys, so I can relate to make me feel like I'm not alone. And that was one of the biggest things. Being an athlete, we're so accustomed to being unvulnerable. We have to be so strong. We have to be so mentally tough. And to be a professional, when you come here, is the total opposite. It's you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You have to open up.
Yeah.
You have to be caring. You have to be loving to understand who you really are, so you can become who you need to be.
We were saying that earlier. It's like a paradox. You have to surrender to win, right? And what are we taught our whole life? We never surrender. Especially in the sporting world, right? Hey, we keep battling, keep fighting, keep moving. But here it's opposite. You're telling me I have to give up and I get to win. Then I get that release and that like, oh, other people are feeling this too, and I don't have to just keep, put my head down and stuff all my feelings down and keep it moving. You know what I mean? And when you said, about being an athlete and some stuff that helped you, and we were joking about earlier, you're being coachable. And now you have a different coach, and it's Laura, it's Tammy, it's Arlene, and it's the staff here that can lead you through this mental health and wellness kind of journey that you're on.
Absolutely. And I never assumed it would be harder to open up, I guess, mentally or even emotionally than, 2-a-days in Louisiana.
Sure.
Or, facing a double team. This is the way when I was here, we talked about, hey, this is like training camp, but, times 2 mentally. Mm-hmm. So it's something that unless you experience it yourself, you wouldn't have a true understanding. Unless you experience yourself, you wouldn't have the feeling of, I can get better. Yeah. I may not get better tomorrow, but there's a point in time where, as long as I take one step at a time, I'm getting better.
Yep.
No, you sound so profound, right? And it just shows like how well versed you are on this topic, right? And I think that goes to your dedication, right? And learning about yourself and going through this journey, right? I think people sometimes take it for granted that like good things will come to them if they just kind of like go through the motions, right? And you could just like your presence and how you communicate like your journey and what you've gone through. It's just like, to me, it's just like the word profound comes to mind because it's like so impactful to me just to hear it, how you talk about it.
Wow. Thank you.
No, like I just had to say it.
But it's
the truth.
I guess it's so profound because I just take the journey of football and I just translate into this. Yeah. Meaning, hey, if you're not getting better, then you're getting worse. Mm. So every day I'm taking the proper steps for me to get better in something. It may be communication. It may be love. It may be how to accept love. It may just be having patience. Is every day I just try to get better. And if I'm not getting better, I feel like I'm getting worse. And, who I was as a football player, I was always trying to be the best who I possibly be. I was a hustle guy. I will run 100 yards just to, be a part of the tackle. So I translate that same energy here. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything possible to become better because it's just not about, with football, it was about a paycheck and, potentially have your name in the lights. Now is more important. I have a son to raise. I have a daughter to bring up. I have a wife to take care of. So it's not about me anymore. It's about, my family and becoming the best husband, uncle, brother, cousin, friend, however you.
Well, I love what you said about like, hey, like what am I doing right? What am I not doing right? It's like watching tape, right? Like how do we get better? So like at the end of the day, like, hey, as a dad today, what was I doing well? As a husband, as an employee, as a friend, and being able to look back at my week or my day and say, all right, I've done X, Y, or Z well, and now I need to work on this side of it kind of deal. And constantly trying, like you said, get better. If I'm not getting better, I'm going backwards, right kind of deal. So I love that you put that spin on it.
And it's also on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't have a good day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have a good week. Sometimes you don't have a good month. But it's still that having that understanding with oneself, is saying, hey, this is my journey. Sometimes I have to go, take a detour, but I still need to get back to the destination, to this place. So
listen, adversity is our greatest teacher or mirror. Like, oh, I need to work on that because adversity is loud. Like the subtle stuff I don't even sometimes recognize. So sometimes adversity is a gift because it puts it in my face. Like I better change this behavior or else kind of deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't, then, I'd rather change the behavior than the behavior change me.
You got me. That was that one got me. I'm going to take a lap. That one got me.
So it seems to me like based off of kind of talking, family is like super important to you, right? And I think a lot of alumni or a lot of potential clients come here and they struggle with leaving their family, right? I remember speaking to another alumni a few episodes ago, and she had to leave her 3 kids and husband to come here for treatment, right? And in my experience, like I didn't have that, but I've spoken to others that have, right? And kind of like talk about that experience for you, like when you decided to come to APN and you had to leave. Did you have 2 kids at the time or just 1?
Oh, 2.
You had 2 at the time when you came here.
Yes. I can even give you more detail. When I came, I left 2 days after my daughter's birthday. Wanted to stay for 30 days. I wound up staying for 60. I missed my daughter's first day of school just by being here. So it was extremely difficult. However, sometimes you have to go through that difficult time to really become who you need to be for those people. Though that first day of school, no, I will never get that moment back. However, the proper understanding how to be the best father for my daughter, that can last for as long as God has me on this earth. So me personally, I rather lose that moment in time to be able to get so much more. I mean, and I hate to I'm programmed, so everything is back to football. I didn't have, when I was in college, I didn't have too much of a social life. In the NFL, I didn't have too much of a social life. That was some of the things that I basically put aside for the most part, just so I can become the best who I can be. So I look at it the same way. Hey, if you want to become, a Pro Bowl player, some things you have to do. If you want to be, arguably one of the best dads, one of the best husbands, one of the best brothers, so forth. Sometimes you have to make certain type sacrifices, and those sacrifices, it hurts in the moment, but it helps you out on the back end.
In the short term, right? Giving up 1 or 2 for the lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like, and I'm sure you can relate to this, but like, being in recovery, right? It's like you go to treatment and you're walking in, right? It's like I have to be here for 30 days, like, and being a social person, right? It's like, what is this person going to think about it? Like, what is this person going to think? Like, how am I going to lie, right? You're going through like and you don't realize that like 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days is nothing.
It's a blink of an eye.
For being sober for the rest of your life and having all these experiences, right? Absolutely. And it's like, and I guess like when you come in, like your head's still a little foggy, right? So you don't have that clarity. But once that like light clicks and it's like you look back on the days that you were at treatment, you're like, I was only there for 45 days and I got this length of sobriety, or this length of this is how success I've gotten. Like, no brainer. I would do that 10 times out of 10 times, right? And it's like, I don't know, for me,
the ego holds on hard in the beginning. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, it's crazy because when you hear that, it's like no brainer. But like, I could remember being in those shoes, walking in and being like, ugh, like 30 days, can I make it like 29 days, right? And you think about like, well, it's my friend's mom's birthday, I have to be there. Like, think of any excuse possible.
I get it.
So it's crazy. So you mentioned before, you and your wife had honest conversations, right? And she was one of the like big proponents of you getting help and talking to you about some of your actions. When you decided to go to APN, what was like that conversation like?
Emotional, long, and it's almost still occurring now. It was something that I was hesitant doing. I wanted to do, and she felt it was something best for me. Hate to say it this way, but I'm like, well, I'm smart. and I know myself, and you don't know me the way how I know me. So it was a altercation / bit of a conflict in saying that. I mean, in those two, but also at that same time, I started to look back at who I was becoming and who I was. So, me spending hours on hours inside of my shoe closet, that's not healthy, especially when you're trying to be a husband and a father. So it was some things that she was able to shed light on. I wish she would have said it in a different manner, but she said it the best way that she could, and it really, it ruffled a couple feathers. But after I was able to really get my emotions in check, I kind of just, hey, this is coming from a loving place. This is not coming from a ego driven. She wants the best for me as I want the best for myself. So it was emotionally tough, but however, we cracked through it and still working through. Basically, we're still working through things that I put her through 6 years ago, from me not knowing that I was affected by not just my childhood, but I was programmed through the NFL. Then, getting broken up, and I always call it, I feel like the NFL broke up with me via text message. Like I put so much time and effort and energy in, and it just was like okay, Turk, I guess
it's not you, it's me.
Yeah. So it was one of those things, and just seeing that slump, and also seeing several of my friends basically commit suicide, and just knowing that, hey, if something drastic doesn't change, you may be in that category. So, I mean, hearing from my wife, seeing my behavior change, seeing my isolation, seeing, that was the most concerning was, the self-talk that I was having. The self-talk that I had with myself, it was, now that I know it was extremely unhealthy, I thought it was, push me in the proper direction. But realistically, all it was doing just keep breaking me down. So, I mean, that talk was, it was impactful. It was one of the most meaningful things at the time and in my life, but also it was extremely frustrating.
Yeah. It's a turning stone too, right? Like having that conversation with your wife, deciding to go to APN, her, almost pushing you to go and begging you to go. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like asking you to go, right? It was a huge milestone for you, right? I'm sure for you as a family, but also for you, for who you are as a person, right? For Turk, the human being, for Turk, the father, the husband, the cousin, the brother, not Turk, the football player.
Yes.
Right? It gave you that opportunity to like be yourself, right? And to come out of like, this is who I am and this is like where I want to go.
Well, yes, but I'm still finding myself.
Right. Like,
so
listen,
yes, but I wish yes.
Like I'm not saying like you're all good, right? But I'm just saying it started that journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It started the journey. It gave me a start point. Like, okay, this is the data that we collected thus far, and yes, we need to go in this direction.
Yeah. All right. Fair.
Got a plan now.
Yeah,
You got a plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you get to APN, right? You get off the plane. Have you ever been to any level of like a treatment center or facility before?
No, sir.
First one.
And so like, I'm always curious, right? You get on the plane, you're in the Escalade, they come and pick you up. What's going through your mind at this point?
So much.
Anxiety, fear.
So much. Yeah. I'm like, I really don't want to open up. I don't want to make any friends. I really don't want to be here. I'm only here because to shut my wife up. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's nothing wrong with me. All I got to do is just pray a little bit and read some scriptures. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But all that took place coming here. I came through the time during COVID, so it was isolation. It was more anxiety then. But my first group, I was like, damn. I wish I'd have came in with an open mind. I wish I wouldn't have had these premeditated thoughts of what it was going to be. If I'd have came a little bit more open maybe I'd have humbled myself a little bit more, and I'll be able to receive a little bit more from this. So, I mean, it's just everything. It was hard to unpack all of that all at once. But once we got in that first group, and I saw someone that looks like me and played and did X, being vulnerable and open, it's like, oh. And then, you know, you hear your peers start telling stories, and you're like, well, okay, well, let me open up as well. And in saying that, I didn't want to make friends, but I wound up creating, you know, brotherhoods for so many, just by going through what we went through. And the only thing that felt close to that was training camp. When, you know, when you're going through adversity and pain and
it's hard.
Suffering,
Yeah,
exactly. When you're going through all that, you build that camaraderie with a person. And, you know, when we're extremely emotional, vulnerable, open it up, we wind up building a great deal.
So what I think is funny too is a lot of times when people come into treatment, they might ask, "Hey, I want more individual sessions." Oh, there's something to the group. We'll always say to people, like, "Oh, I want more." And then when they get here and they get into the group, they notice the group dynamic and how powerful that, like what you just kind of described. And I want to dive into that. Like, what would those relationships look like from day 1 to day 60? What do those relationships look like, and what do they look like now? Are you still in contact with those guys, and how impactful was that for your time here?
Well, day 1, it was extremely isolated.
Sure.
Not until probably day 10 to 14.
Okay.
That's when
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks for me to slowly start eating with people, slowly really start, you know, having one-on-ones with people and start building. So, I mean, I'm a very reserved guy. I never was a guy that just made friends. I always kind of brought my brother friends.
Yeah.
So me being, you know, vulnerable in this new situation, it was funny, but also at the same time, it was great. Day 14, I start opening up, start listening to Laura a little bit more. I start realizing, you know, the people that's giving me these tips on how to become better, they're for me and not against me.
Yeah.
So, you know, day 14, start opening up, you know.
A little trust.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I have trouble with. What really helped was, you know, Laura introduced our group to this thing called a trauma egg.
Second time. Yeah.
Whoa.
Shout out trauma.
Yeah,
Man.
shout out trauma egg.
Shout out to the
Like
trauma.
it, and I mean, from that point on, the first trauma egg story that I heard, it was like, this is my brother right here now.
Yeah.
Like this is, and ever since then, it just was, you know, I was able to be extremely vulnerable. I mean, you ask of, I believe I had maybe 10, 14 guys I'm saying about 10 guys in my session. We probably text, and mind you, I didn't know none of these guys before. I mean, one of my buddies, we it's a group text message where every day we're just sending each other devotionals, just, you know, just giving one another encouraging words, motivational words. You know, then the other back half, you know, we're always texting each other. You know, we're always checking in. Hey, how you feeling? In a large group text message. So this is a constant thing that's constantly evolving to something new. You know, we all just left APN not too long ago, but also at the same time, we're still as close as we were when we was here. So, I mean, we really built I want to say friendship, but it's way more than that.
Family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I think gets touched on upon a lot in these podcasts, right? Or in these conversations, the community of APN, right? And I think you hit it like spot on. When individuals get vulnerable, it makes others feel like it builds that trust, right? It makes others feel so comfortable, right? And especially when you're surrounded by like-minded individuals, specifically when it comes to like trauma, mental health, substance abuse, right? Like if you were to share, like when people share stories to me about like substance abuse, right off the bat, it's like, all right, no doubt, like I could be myself, you know, like this person's been through the war just like I have. So it's like, I have nothing to be embarrassed about. I have nothing to be judged about, right? And I think that like with APN and the community, you're surrounded by so many individuals that have gone through similar journeys in life or similar hurdles or struggling with similar things where it's like, right off the bat, you kind of feel comfortable. And then like once people start sharing their journey, like right off the bat, like you almost feel like, I don't know, like for me, like obligated to be like, dude, you're not the only one, man. Like I've been there with you, and it's like there's no hesitation, right? It's like it just clicks in your mind. It's like, wow, like to your point, like there's like brothers or sisters, like family, like they get it. And so I think at APN,
Well, it's like the shared suffering brings strength. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think APN just creates that, and I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this. Coming from an athletic background, always being in locker rooms and surrounding other players, now you come to APN and you're surrounded by some other athletes, but also a whole different type of community. I kind of get your thoughts on that and interactions with not everyone's just a normal person, right? Like there's no athletes and non-athletes. It's just everyone's a human.
It's a lot with that question.
Yeah.
It's loaded.
Yes.
I know, right? That's a bad way to frame it, right? I guess like the question is like, what was your interaction like? I guess like, how did it feel not to be a player anymore and just be a normal person in a community?
Well,
just to be a human in a community.
Human.
I hate to say it, but once you have that NFL shield on you, you're always a part of it. So even when I came here and I saw the other former NFL players, it was a sense of comfort, but also a sense of anxiety because, hey, I may have to be vulnerable in front of these guys where, I broke a forearm in a football game, threw a piece of tape on it, popped 2 Tylenol, I finished the game with 4 more tackles. So it's all about how tough you are. It's all about, how are you tougher than the other guy? Can you take his will? So coming here, it was the total opposite, which we wind up, it wound up being more. It wound up being more. So it felt like the locker room experience, but different. Now, kind of shifting to the other, the non-athletes, it was a little different because when I was here, it was a little, until we had our both groups kind of mixed in. Before that, it was what we basically alluded to earlier. Was like, hey, what are these NFL guys doing here? What can be so tragic in their lives? Like how they made X, they did Y, they had fun. Why are they here? So until we had the opportunity to be invulnerable around our other peers, that's when it became
one unit.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, it's kind of, you can tell a football player or a former football player, anyone like that. So I mean, and then now in this environment, you see 10, 11 of them together. It's like they're the football players.
They're the NFL guys.
Yeah, the NFL guys. But until you get a chance to get to know them, they're not being the NFL guys anymore. They're just Turk. So
100%.
So that was the, I guess, one of the hurdles that I'm glad that we're crossed, and I believe it really brought APN closer together.
No, and I asked that question, and like I guess I didn't phrase it properly before. And the reason why I asked is because like in my experience as an alumni at APN, like I had the unique experience to get to know players as humans.
Yes.
Right. And that was to me like an awesome experience. Right. And I always like to know from the other side, right? Where like you're not like you're coming in as a player, right? And your whole life you're an NFL player, you're a player, but now you have like people getting to know you and getting to know you for Turk, right? And so like that's the kind of where I was like going with it, because like to me it's like it was awesome just to make another friend. Like at that point it was like, yeah, they played football, great. I work here, same shit. Now we're both here going through similar struggles and trying to get better.
Absolutely, and it's always great to have a friend that's your friend and not a friend of what you did or your popularity.
That wants something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's always good to have a lot of, and I guess being a former NFL player, you don't realize it's not a lot of you guys, but half of my phone is NFL players. So I'm on the other side of the spectrum thinking it's a ton of us, but hey, everyday people don't have the opportunity to coexist with ball players. Yeah. So once I had a better understanding with that, and then once we had that shift, it was an amazing thing.
That's great. What about I'm curious to hear what your interactions with staff. Like who was like, hey, was it the clinical staff? Was it the hospitality staff? Was it the support staff? Did you have good relationships? Did you what'd you learn and like that aspect of it?
It's kind of hard to identify. The answer to the question, yes, I had a great relationship with everyone. To the point in time when it was time for me to leave, it felt like I was leaving, friends that I knew for a very long time. Yeah. And it was concerning to me because I'm like, did I just get soft while I got here? Like, but I learned so much from everyone that was here, not just from, the upper management, from, just the ladies that was just helping with the laundry.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone here, it seems like they had a mission or APN mission was embedded in them.
That's great.
So it was enlightening for me. It was enlightening for me to see so many people caring, because that's a world that I'm not accustomed to.
Yeah.
Especially former ball player and then being from Camden, New Jersey. Not too many people care about you. People start caring about Turk when I started playing football, when I became a really well-known ball player. So people caring for your well-being and your safety and your wellness.
Yeah.
It was left field to me, and I had to get adjusted to that. So it's hard for me just to point out one or two.
Yeah.
But I hate to say that. Yes, I can point one out.
Yeah.
Like Laura was extremely instrumental in my journey here. Like everyone else was amazing, but her and I she could really connect. And that's what I really liked about Laura. Like, she could really identify and connect with not just us, but it seems like with everyone.
Yeah.
So, she, from Miss Tammy, Miss Arlene, just everyone just in here just was so much love, respect, and honor for,
those
everyone.
three ladies are special.
Without a doubt.
Shout out to those three. They're awesome.
Yeah. A few things unpacked right there. Number one, these are three former New Jersey natives.
Y'all both from Jersey?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I knew I felt a good vibe.
Yeah,
There we go.
see?
Just smart, good-looking men on the couch and on the chair. Yeah, I
had to
get
call that out.
Yeah.
And I also have a question, too. The side topic. Miss Arlene, Miss Tammy, and then Laura. Why isn't Laura going to Miss Laura?
Yeah, we've heard Miss. Yeah.
It's always Miss Tammy, Miss Arlene, but no Miss Laura.
Why?
Yeah.
Because Laura's just Laura.
Yeah.
Like, Laura's like, she's like.
You're trying to stir shit up, Dan.
Yeah,
No,
man.
no, it's funny. First of all, those three are incredible women. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to both be a client here with them and learn from them, and also be coworkers of them as well. All three are incredible, and it's something I said to them
stir
earlier.
the pot.
No, but no, this is all seriousness.
I'm sorry.
In talking to Tammy, right, and putting this thing together, and when Laura would come on and talk about each one of you,
Yeah.
right, the sparks that they have in their eyes, right, and this is no bullshit, right, when when one of them would go down the list and mention who's coming, right, it wasn't 6 of them are coming, right, they mentioned your name. Right. And they'd be talk about this with this person. Right. Talk about this with this person. Right. This is what they're doing now. Right. And to me, right, what that says is that they're so invested in you as a person. Right. And they want you to be the best version of you. Right. And they've gotten to know you on such a personal level that it's it's just incredible with the relationships that you build with them. Because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, not at all. And one of the things that I am learning to get over or reprogram myself, that life is not transactional. And just, coming here, it's okay, they're doing all this. They're taking out time to help me. What the hell do they want from me? And it's they don't want anything. So they helped me in more than one way. And just becoming just a better human. Like I alluded to earlier, it's very... Well, then it was very disturbing for me to see people actually caring for me that really barely knew me. So it was
It's like you don't even know how to react to
Exactly.
it. Yeah, you're like, what is happening right now? Yeah. But it's pretty cool to see.
I agree. And it's a lovely feeling.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely lovely feeling, especially when you walk inside those doors and you just
when you meet somebody then and you're like, that person actually, when you walk past somebody, how you doing, right? And people, it's just like, and you find that person that's actually concerned with the answer.
Yes.
It's like the first time you realize that, it's like it blows your mind. You're like, that person really wants to know how I'm doing. It's like, what? So it's a powerful I don't know, trait or ability that they have, but they're just three people that just care like at an immense level, and they're really good therapists. It's pretty cool.
I agree. I mean,
it's pretty cool.
That is what they're doing is not an occupation, it's not a job, that was a calling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell, God had to put something on their heart for them to have that serving, because I can't do nothing like that. That's not instilled in me.
And Arlene and Tammy are cool. I mean, I'm not no shot at Laura, but they're cool. They're two cool ladies. Arlene and you know what I mean? Like, I'll take a shot at Laura. Like Arlene's
shots.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're great. Shout out Laura.
No, dude, I think you're spot on, right? And like, it's crazy, right? Like, outside of us being from New Jersey, we have like not a lot in common, right? But the fact that like you talked about like transactional, right? And like taking where that came from and being able to adjust, right? Like, I was such a transactional person when I was getting loaded, right? And being able to come in and unpack that and be like, I'm just going to be the best version of myself and not want anything in return is crazy, right? And like, I always thought
it's
that
foreign.
Like,
yeah, it's foreign.
Like when I was getting loaded, right? And before I came to APN, right? I thought that's how everyone thought. Right? Like, okay, if I do this, I should expect this in return, right? Or like, all right, like we're both thinking this, right? And then now it's just like, I'm just going to be the best. I'm just going to do what I think is right and take the next right step, regardless of what the other person
Try
thinks.
to be good to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Crazy. I don't know. It was like, hit home to me.
Well, let's all right, so good experience, 60 days. And listen, 60 days isn't easy. And once I made that decision. I was going to treatment when I got sober for, hey, I'm going to go 30 days. And I made the decision like day 19 that I was going to do 60. And I remember just feeling like awesome about it and like really got into some good work in that second 30 days. So I know that's pretty cool to make that extension. But what's going on now? Like, you left, like what tools do you still use at APN that APN taught you? You still have some relationships with your peers, but like, what's going on in your life since you've left APN and like, where's that going?
What's going on? Basically just taking one step at a time. Just trying to become the best version of me as possible. Making sure that I have a clear head, making sure that I can see what I want to be. I may not be who I want to be at this moment, but I can see it. So as long as I feel as though I can see it, then I can always work to it. What we always talked about is it's almost like a weight loss journey. If you want to lose 100, 50, 10, whatever, you can lose it, but it's different. There's two different things: losing it and maintaining it all.
Keeping it.
Exactly. So I'm in the process of losing it, but I also see where I could be at once it's off and how I need to maintain it. So it's basically, I'm still doing my DBT, my
CBT.
I keep wanting to say CMD or something where I'm from, but it's
CMD, Camden.
It's all those things, and realistically, it's just taking every step at a time, taking one step at a time.
I heard somebody once, and I usually butcher this, but they compared.
Oh my God.
They compared like the growth you're talking about to like taking care of a car, right? Like, I need to maintain it, and I don't know much about cars, so bear with me here. Like, I need to change the oil, I need to put gas in it, I need to rotate the tires, I need to maintain it. But I also need to grow the car. I need to change the exhaust, right? Make it perform better. And I need to, put better rims on. I don't know shit about cars, but meaning stop. But in recovery, we need to maintain, but we also need to grow, like what you talked about in the beginning. If I'm not growing, I'm going backwards, right? So I have certain daily disciplines for maintenance, and I have certain daily disciplines for growth. And I think that's important that we acknowledge that and we try to maintain both. And Absolutely. I know my car analogy sucked. But
I was going to say the idea behind that was perfect.
I butchered it.
But like, cars don't really grow.
All right, let's go back to Turk. We want to hear Turk. I don't want to hear me.
No. I also kind of want to touch on too, like the platform that you have as an individual now, right? Where being able to share this experience and kind of going back to the beginning of the podcast when I talked about like the audience that we're reaching, right? The clients, whether it be the potential clients that like are thinking of like isolating right now, right? And thinking they need help or being told they need help and they're not ready. Or the clients that are the current clients in the lodge that are like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm all set. Like kind of things that you were talking about before.
Yes.
And then it's like also maybe it's some people that are just out like alumni that have gone, taken steps backwards, right? I think like how powerful your message is, right? And how clear and concise it is that like what you've done to get to this point, right? And to your point, right? Like we're not finished yet, right? Every day we're working and we're getting better each day. But I think that like we could look at it and say like the success that you've had thus far, right? Like the journey you've had has been a success, and like obviously we're still going for more, but like there was a turnaround for you.
Oh, absolutely. And what I learned here, you have to also celebrate the small victories. You just can't celebrate just a huge accomplishment. You have to enjoy the journey and enjoy those 1 mile, 2 mile milestones.
Or like for Andy's sake, like the 100 meters, 200 meters.
Yes, to each his own. But no, I mean, you just have to really, really have the proper expectations for oneself. And one of the things that I don't want to say I damaged myself, but I didn't have the proper expectations. I was always, when I said, okay, I'm going to come here, I'm going to be here for 30 days, and I'm going to be better. And realistically, going back to the analogy of the weight loss journey, that's not real. And just having the proper expectations of what it is, it will always help.
No, I agree. And I don't know, like, I'm curious your take on it. I feel like that's such a commonality, though, that like maybe it's not necessarily you. I feel like everyone thinks that if they go to get treatment, like they'll get fixed.
Well, yeah, that's because, again, it's stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
This is such a, no one talks about mental health or substance abuse when we're in school, or like it's not taught, so it's so foreign to a lot of people. It's foreign to me when I came. So there's no like I remember my dad asking, like I was sober like 15 months at the time. He's like, goes to my mom. He's like, when's he going to be better? Mm-hmm. Like he was making sangria, like his Italian barbecue. He's, I'm making my own sangria. Yeah. When's he going to be better so he can have it? He doesn't understand the concept of like, hey Pop, like I'm growing and I'm trying to become more healthy, but like I'm probably not going to have a drink. If I do, it won't be good. Kind of deal.
No, and I think like that's like real facts too, right? Like for people coming in, it's like, yes, like to your point, like stepping into those doors, small victory, right? Being here, being present, small victory, creating those bonds, those communities, opening up, like building like these awesome relationships with current clients and therapists, right? Doing all that stuff, small victory, right? But deep down knowing that like there's more victories ahead, right? And there's more things in this part of this journey. And I think that like being able to have, and I guess it's difficult, but being able to have that mindset, and I hope like people could hear this and get that realization, because like the small victories are big, but also like knowing that this journey, what do you say? Like you never graduate?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like you never graduate, right? This is a lifelong journey.
Yeah, I feel like you get promoted, but you never graduate.
Yeah. Oh.
Like,
yeah, and it's a good point. That's a good one, the promotion. And in the football analogy that we've been making with you, Turk, it's like we got to, like everybody wants to throw the 100, like people that watch football, I want to throw the long pass and score a touchdown. But life and recovery is not really like that. 3 hours, like stay short, one at a time kind of deal. And if we do that, then we look and then we've gone 100 yards. You know what I mean? And that's the concept here.
And also sticking to the football analogy, sometimes you have to punt the ball.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes it's the turnover, sometimes something happen, but you have to understand with that there's an adversity.
Yeah.
And with that adversity, you can build strength with that.
Yeah.
So
answer the phone.
It's nothing is going to become easier, especially if you want it.
Love it.
Anything that you want, it's never going to come easy. And if it comes easy, it's not meant for you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Well, dude, listen, like I said, man, like a lot of powerful stuff, man. A lot of like facts, like I appreciate this conversation. It was no bullshit, dude. Like seriously, like, I appreciate that. Yeah. Profound. But no, I really appreciate it. And I think the people listening to it will appreciate it, man. Like, I truly believe that the listeners, whether it be 12, whether it be 200, whether it be 500, whether it be 3, like, you will be impacting other people's lives, right? And so, like, for me, Andy, the team, like, we appreciate it, dude. Like, we know this is not easy, especially like on a public platform, right? Like, and so like, we just want to say thank you.
No, I thank you guys for allowing me to be on this platform so I can tell my story to potentially help someone else.
No, awesome, dude. So if any of our listeners or viewers want to get in contact with us, please email us at pod@apn.com. That is pod@apn.com. And if you want to, if you're listening to this and you want to see this podcast visually or see our other podcasts, visit us at apn.com/podcast. That is apn.com/podcast. Thanks again, Turk.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys.
Now back for some bonus coverage. We're flipping the script. We had finished the podcast. We took our headphones off, lights were off, and all of a sudden Turk goes to Andy and I and the rest of the team. I have some questions for you that I wanted to answer. So obviously Keith being Keith made us put the headphones back on, and now we're here.
Shout out, Keith.
And now we're here. So what do you got for us?
Well,
we're an open book.
Well, I guess I don't know you guys' story entirety, so we can just kind of, have some little little. So I guess, what are y'all daily routines to help you in your journey right now?
You go first, pal?
Yeah, no, you can go for it.
So I got sober in 2014, and I had some mental health stuff too. So I try to stick to a daily routine of maybe some readings in the morning, testimonials, and then some meditation, and then kind of throughout the day, stopping at times and just kind of getting present, whatever that looks like, getting on my breath kind of deal. And then in the evening, journal a little bit. I'd like to say I journal every day, but if it's once a week, it's a good week for me. But again, that's where I can see what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, and then finish the day with prayer and meditation. And I got taught that early on in my journey in 2014, like, hey, like, this is the routine you need to stick to, and you'll get growth. And at times I've done really well with it, and I stick to it, like, awesome. And my life like everything's pretty good. Other times I get lazy and I don't stick to it. And I realize in a few days or in a few weeks, I kind of get a little shorter in traffic with people. I'm a little upset at the grocery store if someone cuts me off or takes the last whatever. Like, I don't notice what it's doing for me while it's happening, but I notice what it's doing for me when I stop doing it. And then I feel like just a little, the anxiety kind of pops up a little bit more. And then the more I'm anxious, that leads to depression for me, which isn't a good place. So again, I try to stick to my morning and my evenings.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I went to APN, so I have about going on 16 months sober at this point from drugs and alcohol. And you touched upon it when we were talking about like structure, and like structure for me is key. And like I like to know, like I like to plan out my day and put the certain things that I need to do to have a successful day and my day of like progress. Like I progressed today.
Yes.
And prayer and meditation in the morning. And it's short, but it's things that are meaningful to me.
You're a gym guy?
I go to the gym every day.
Yep.
And like gym is like is my medicine, right? That's what like wakes me up in the morning. That's what gets my mind working.
You're a gym guy just to go to the gym, or you're a gym guy to really get after it?
I'm a gym guy to get two things. I grew up playing sports, so I always have like an athletic mindset. Mm-hmm. And I played football in high school. Was going to play in college, decided not to play. I have a Jewish mother. She wouldn't let me play in college. And so from there,
there's a lot to that. We will unpack that now.
And then I started playing like pickup basketball, and basketball was my thing. Broke my nose, so I stopped playing that. So like for me, like sweating and working out is like crucial for me. And then when I learned in sobriety, it helped like create structure and like woke me up in the morning. I had my brain working. So like working out gets like the competitive nature out of me, where it's like I worked hard today. I walked out of the gym or a class or something sweating, and like I achieved something
to be proud about.
Yeah.
I would also say that's a form of meditation, where you're working out. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, like, and it's like I push myself, right? Like I like jumping rope. That's like some good cardio for me. And like I make sure that I like hit a certain amount of number and like beat that the next day I do it.
Have you jumped rope with that 5 pound or 10 pound?
I do the 5, but like I can't do a lot. But I like the speed rope.
Yeah.
And then a big piece of my program and my journey in sobriety is surrounding myself with like-minded individuals and or people that I really feel comfortable with. And so like I grew up North Jersey, went to Syracuse, and like I'm a very social person, but like the people that I find myself surrounding myself now, like in LA, are like people that are in recovery or like really know me for me, and I feel comfortable around them. And so like for me, like community is very big. Is like me, like I want, like every day I want to be the best version of myself. And so I surround myself with people that I can allow myself to be like that.
Got it.
And family has become like very important to me in sobriety. Like I was a total asshole, like when I was getting fucked up and like, you know, lying, whatever, to family. And now it's like, I try to be like, I try to show up for my family as much as possible.
Got it. One of the main questions or key questions I would like to ask both of you guys is what, can you tell us a story that you fell off the wagon and you was able to get yourself back on?
Well, so by the grace of God, so I've been sober. So I went to treatment once, and I've been sober since February 2014. Where I've fallen off in my journey is my, at times I've completely, I've probably, if you want to use the word relapse, but with like depression and anxiety, where I haven't stayed on those. I've been physically sober, but I stopped doing my daily disciplines, where then that led me to a place of, like I said, depression, right? And not leaving the house, and not, self-care's out the window at that point. It's like, well, how did I get here? You know, like where I was going out and I had friends and I was going to meetings and, you know, social life. And then all of a sudden I haven't left the house in a week. Like, well, what's in 2 weeks? Like, what's this about? You know, like Uber Eats and Instacart and all that bullshit, right? You know, like where I'm just not leaving my house because of the depression. So again, I didn't physically relapse, right? Where I drank again, but I fell down where I needed to lean on other people and be like, how the hell do I get up and how do I get on this beam again, going in this direction, right? So thank God, you know, God's put a lot of strong men in my life that can help me and guide me, right? I'm a victim of like good sponsorship and good therapists and people kind of, if I'm able to put myself in that position, people can help me, you know, if I let them help me, kind of deal, and point me in the better, you know, in a healthy spot.
I definitely want to ask you the same question, but I kind of want to go back to when you say, I guess, your surrounding cast that you have. How important is that to have that surrounding cast? So
I got a couple, like, again, I've been now, you know, there's a couple people that have been in my life for about 8 years. You know, I've seen people kind of come and go from I live in South Florida, right? And I've gotten well with people and now they've moved back to Philadelphia, or they moved back to Boston, or all these places. But I have probably, I would say like 5 or 6, and my brother being one of them who's not in recovery, but someone that I lean on. I have about 5 or 6 men in my life that are, again, that I can help support them when they're struggling, and they can help support me. And it's like just that fellowship, you know, that we kind of crave. We all look for that connection. And, you know, I have that if I allow myself to be honest with people. Hey, the biggest lie I tell is I'm fine. How you doing, pal? I'm fine, man. Yeah. Killing it. But internally, I'm dying, right? That's the biggest lie I can tell today. And it's a dangerous spot, right? The other thing is, I was probably more diligent my first 5 or 6 years, and now you start to get like an attaboy complex, like a senioritis. Like, hey, I've been doing this since 2014 now. And then laziness kind of, you know, rears its head. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, how did I get here again? You know, like, so again, my journey, I've done well and I'm proud of myself and, you know, what I've done. But it's about getting a connection with a higher power, with my God. And, but again, I put the gym or the relationship or the job or anything else in front of what I need to. I lose that. You know what I mean? I have to keep focus on higher power and spirituality and trying to help people.
Got it.
Yeah. One thing I miss is like a part of like my daily routine is I call my sponsor every day. Mm-hmm. And like, it's not mandatory for me to do that. I do it so that like, I feel comfortable talking to him, so that like in a day, and it's not like childish seizure. He's not like, make sure you call me at 8 a.m. It's like, no, let's build a rapport so that when something does come up, boom, like you're just like, how's your day? It's so shitty because of this. Why? I just said that to you, like blah, blah, blah. So that is something that I do, but mine was a physical relapse. So like I had went to another treatment center in Minnesota when I was like, I don't know, turning 34, so around like when I was like 30. And I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't. Like, I was going in like family, friends were, you know, similar to what you talked about with your wife, like talking to, and I was like in isolation at that point. I was like, you're telling me I have a problem? Like, I'm putting this stuff in my body. Like, don't worry about it, right? Like, you're good, right?
Mind your business, pal.
I didn't think about what I was doing to them. And so I finally agreed to go to treatment in Minnesota. And like, I like went and like had no interest of getting better. Like, I was like, I'm going so that like when I come back, like I could say like, I told you it didn't work, right? And like, it was like, it was just a slippery slope for me. Like, I got like when I got back, like I stayed sober for a little bit, but it was like white knuckling. Like, I was doing it to prove a point. Like, I told you I could stay sober for 100 days. Now I proved you wrong. Like, now what you can give me? Transactional, right?
Transactional.
And like, that was my mindset. And it was like, and then until things just got worse and worse. And like, I just became someone I really wasn't. You know, like I couldn't look myself in the mirror. That's how bad it got. Like, depressed, anxiety, like, sure. But like, let's call it what it was. Like, I was embarrassed of who I became, and I didn't want to call myself out. All I did was justify certain things. While I'm working hard at work, while I'm making good money, so why can't I keep acting like this?
Victimy?
Yeah.
A little victimy?
So like, it was just like, anytime I did something negative, I justified it. And it was funny, I was talking to my dad about this. My dad's like crazy like me, and like he's sober also, like 20 years sobriety, and he likes going to the gym too. We both have that. And I was like, we were talking about like going to the gym, waking up. I was like, Dad, you know what's crazy? And he's like, what? I was like, I used to go to the gym just so I could take a painkiller after, right? Like, that's how like crazy my mind was, right? Like, I deserved that painkiller because of all the work I put in at the gym. I went to the gym for like 45 minutes, and I deserve this. But that's where my mind went. I justified every action.
25 minutes on the treadmill.
Yeah. Oh my God, my hamstrings are sore. But like, I was just and so it was just a slippery slope. And then until I surrendered, until I came to APN and like surrendered and like made the choice myself. Like, I told my parents, like, I'll figure this out. Like, I appreciate your love and support. I get it. Like, but I have to do this for me. And I think that's what started my journey, when I started to like, knowing I was like, they were supporting me, but like, this is for me and me only. And then that's when I started to be able to like prove it to myself and then prove it to others.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow. So, okay. What would be your one word or few words that would describe yourself in the journey that you're facing now?
Oh, Turk, you don't know these guys very well. They can't do one word.
Yeah, let's make it difficult. Let's do one word.
Grace.
I'll give you a few words like separately. Like thankful, grateful, motivated, inspired, right? I think like
Resilient,
right, is a good one. Thank you. I think like all those things, like when it comes to grateful, right? I'm grateful for this opportunity I have from God, right? I'm grateful for all the support that I have from friends and family, right? I'm grateful for like individuals in my life that continue to motivate me.
But I would also jump on the fact that, like, thank God we don't get what we deserve, right? Because if I got what I deserved, you know what I mean? Like, it's an undeserved gift, this life. And and again, if I can maintain eyes on that, I maintain gratitude. And if I'm there, I'm in a good spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think too, I guess like the one is like gratitude and grateful, because like you think back on good parts of your life and bad parts of your life. And like, every day I wake up and like, I'm so appreciative of the life I have now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, I've had amazing memories, like, you know, going for almost 35 years, something like that, 34, 35, 87. But like,
forget how old you were?
I look back like, and I think about like some of those were like kind of like I wasn't present.
Yeah.
And like for these past like almost 16 months, like I've been present every day. And I get to like look back and wake up. And I always say this, like, I walk into a room and I'm not nervous to be myself. And when I walk out, like, I don't feel like, you know, when you like, I always use this analogy. Like when I used to get like people like go out, get blackout, they wake up and they think back about their last night and they're like get cringe. Like I can't believe I said that. I hope they don't remember. I went to this wedding. I was dancing with this person. Like I hope they don't remember. And you're like sitting there like sweating. And I think like now I don't have that. I walk into a room, I present myself authentically, and I walk out and the next morning like I'm like, you know what, that's me. If they don't like me, fuck them. You know, and I don't say that as like in fear, like you know, I'm the best, but it's like that's just who I am.
Good boundaries.
And so I think to answer your question, I would use the word authentic.
I like it.
You got there. There we go.
Authentic and
Right?
grace.
A lot of words, but I got there.
Got it. My one word would be relentless.
Yeah, love that.
No matter what, I'm not going to give up. No matter the adversity, trials, tribulations, I'm going to be relentless to try to be my best self.
Like you played.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
listen, like you could, some people are like, oh, you have to leave everything in that old, like, no, we can take some stuff from who I was and apply it in a more productive or whatever, in a way, you know, and that's awesome that's, again, can show up in such a positive place now, just like it did years ago for you.
what would you guys would have told yourself, you know, your younger self?
like 18, like, so again, this whole idea of addiction and mental health is so foreign. Right, that's not me. I'm not the homeless guy under the bridge. Like, what are you talking? You know, like, so like the arrogance of that, right? Like, hey, pal, how about you're open and be a little more compassionate to like the world? You know what I mean? Because again, like the drugs and the alcohol were the loud symptom of the problem, but the problem was me and my trauma and my malady underneath of it all, and the way I treated myself and the way I treated people. So I needed to get to that to become, you know, to stop the symptom, which is the drugs and the alcohol, but then also to just live a cleaner life and be good to people.
Yeah, I guess like I agree with a lot of things you said there, and I think like
I was gonna make it sarcastic, but I'm trying not to be. Thank you.
I think like something that I remind myself is like, and again, I don't know if I would believe it or not, and like I'm one to like, this is where I get a little spiritual. Ooh. Because I think that like everything happened for a reason in my life, and that gave me this opportunity. I like, for example, like if this happened, that happened, maybe I wouldn't have gotten sober, right? Or if this happened, maybe I don't wind up at APN and get the help I need, right? Or whatever it is. But I think that if I were to like give myself, a younger self, a message, I would say like be authentic and like be comfortable in your own skin, like you're enough. Right, because I do think throughout my life on the football field, basketball court, and work environments, I was always trying, like, you know, when you like,
I know where you're going.
People like try to compare themselves to like the person next to you. Like you're in a sales environment, right?
Yes.
You sold $5,000 worth of software. I need to sell 7,000. In my head, like I was like, Dan sold 5,000 yesterday. He needs to sell 6,000 today, or Joe is not going to be happy. Right? It was just like, I never felt like I was good enough, and I was always having to do all these things. And so like to remind myself that like your hard work will show your efforts. Like I don't think I had that at a young age. I wasn't mature enough. Yeah. And now it's like I wake up and do the right things every day, and I lay myself on the pillow and being like, you know what, like I did what I was supposed to do today, and I'm happy.
Very insecure. And that fear and that anxiety then drives. You know, and that's what I think I would say, like, hey, like, you know, give yourself an attaboy. And don't be so hard. Like you talk about negative self-talk, and that's the second or third time we've heard that. And it's something I struggled with, and it still rears its head. I made the joke earlier on the golf course. I'm like, why am I so mean to myself? You know, like I'm like, you know, like you played golf twice this month, and you scull the pitching wedge, and you're calling yourself like the worst shit in the world. Like, what's that about? You know, like where'd that come from? So to give myself an attaboy and take it a little, you know, like, and be okay with who I am.
Yeah, I definitely can identify that with myself as well. Yeah. Just being programmed of a ball player, you know, hey, I got drafted in the second round, this pick. This guy got drafted this round, that pick. So it's always that I guess not camaraderie, but that
comparing yourself.
Yeah, that comparison. Yes, that comparison to see, okay, well, if he did this, and now everything is driven by stats.
Yeah, he has 4 sacks, I need 5 sacks.
Yeah, well, right? This guy got 16. He's gonna make it through Pro Bowl. He just earned another $3 million. So instead of having self-value, you basically value yourself off of what you're able to do for someone or do for someone else.
Off bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like I don't know, in my head, like I never thought it was enough. Like oh, like if I, like to use your example, if I was playing football, like I need 16 sacks. You get to 16, all right, well, I should have had 17. Like if I didn't slip, blah blah. Like
Discontent.
And like I don't know. I feel like, and in a healthy way, using the word content, right? Like I've always strived for more each day to like improve myself, but like I am content with life. Like I am generally happy every day versus like where I was like always miserable because I wasn't excelling like to the speed I wanted to excel at.
Wow. And that's where I have an issue at, because that word content, it reminds me of
negative, right?
Yeah, it's being the same. Or I'm like, I don't want to be the same.
Yeah.
I need to be better. And it's funny, for a long period of time, my mom used to just be like, be happy what you have. And I'm like, no, I can't be happy for what I have, because God blessed me with who I am, and I know I can do more. I can feel it inside. But it's like that double-edged sword. If you're not properly maintaining it the right way, that word content can drive you, or it can make you lazy.
It's so funny.
Complacency.
Yeah, like it's so funny because it's so similar. Like my dad, again, like he has many years of recovery, and he, when I was in like active addiction, like he, like I would talk, he would always use the word content, and like to me, like I would look down upon it. And he's like, I'm content in life. I'm happy. I don't need to do that, right? And I was like, Dad, why don't you do this? I'm content. I'm happy. And I'm like, dude, like what? Like you don't want more,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And now I like get what he's saying, because like this dude like works his ass off, right? Work, whatever he's doing, he's always like making himself better, and he does. But like I like he just has that happy balance of like motivation and content.
Like being okay with who
Yeah.
you are in the moment.
Yeah, like being okay with like knowing that I get perfect.
That's
Like,
why I'm here.
Present.
though.
like he gave like he's like he knows how much effort he's given, and whatever the result is, he's content at, because he knows he gave it all.
True happiness with
Yeah.
oneself.
Yeah.
Listen, it's tough to be like alone and content, like by yourself. Like silence can be deafening in mental health and addiction. And you have to learn to be okay in silence, and like almost like look to like, because in that silence, that brain will it'll just gnaw at you. So like getting, like you talked about, being uncomfortable. You know, like some people like that meditation thing, and like hey, 5 minutes a day, and maybe get to 6 minutes a day, and being in that silence and learning how to be okay in that, be content in that.
Absolutely.
It's difficult, but again, is also unbelievable when it happens. It's like unbelievable.
What was you guys' why?
Why? Like in what way?
Like, why did you really want to change? Why are you continuously going down this journey?
So mine's pretty easy. There's like a lot, like if you look at if you think of a pyramid, right?
How's it go?
Right?
Sorry, I can't help myself, Turk.
There's a lot of different like small layers, right? And I think at the highest one in bold, right, is family, right? I saw what I was doing to my family,
Me too.
right? Like, yes, I could have said like, oh, like I wasn't performing well at work or in relationships and like friendships and this and that. I wasn't furthering myself at the gym. I think family, right? I think that they got to a certain point where like my family is so supportive of like everyone in our family, right? Like we have like my parents, brother, sister-in-law, brother, nieces, nephews, whatever. Like we're like, listen, like I'm not like, it's not like a weird family dynamic where like are atop each other, but like we're very supportive in anyone's actions. Like, hey, you're going to do this, like we want to support you. And I think that like I just like the drugs and alcohol like let them down in certain ways, and like at first I didn't see that, and I thought like it was just impacting me and like my life, and I would always be like, you're telling me this, like you're mad at me, like there's going in my system, right? Like I'm the one that's gonna be sick, like why are you yelling at me? And I would like go nuts. And then like I just looked at like, God forbid something bad happened to me, like they had to lose a brother, a son, like a cousin or an uncle, like wow, like that's crazy. Like that never hit me, right? And like how big of an impact that would have, how selfish that was. And I think like how selfish I was to them, like I didn't want to be that person anymore. And I knew what type of person I could be, like when I'm present and authentic, and like me changing like for myself and then them was like my why.
Yeah, and I would piggyback, right? And because I wanted to, I wanted the why for the long time because I knew the way I was living. I was a teacher, a high school teacher, and a coach, coached football, basketball, and baseball, and it was my dream. And I was not living. I was leaving every day to get stoned, to get not stoned, but to get high. And
After your coaching,
yeah,
after
like
you're
I would
teaching.
leave during the day as a teacher, go to Newark, do my thing, come back, coach and teach. Like it was bad. Like, and that was I knew right from wrong. I knew how I was like. I knew that this was not the way I should be living life, but I couldn't stop, and I didn't understand why. I grew up in a normal household, right? You know, both parents there, an older brother. Everybody seemed normal, right? So the concept for me is I was trying to stop. At that point, I'd given up. Suicide was the next option for me. I was living in my car in Newark for a couple of weeks in the middle of the winter. It was freezing, and you know, the comment I have is that spirituality or God will enter through the wound. And at that point in time, he did, and he quieted my brain down. And what he did is he gave me a look, or what happened is I got to look at what my life looked like, but not from my self-centered, fearful point of view. I got it from my mother's point of view at that moment in time. And I went home, and what I did, which we talked about on this podcast, I asked for help. And I was never able to say, I always said, oh, it's gambling. I always blamed other things, right? Because heroin was a dirty word. And I was finally able to say, hey, this is what's happening. I need friggin' help.
Accountability.
And boom, and then I went to detox. I got out of the. I always say I got out of detox Super Bowl Sunday when the Seahawks beat the Peyton Manning's Broncos at New York at Giant Stadium. Was the day I got out of detox. I told everybody at detox to bet on the Broncos because they were a lock, and they lost 42-9. Right? And I went to treatment, and I've been sober ever since. Life has changed.
So that was the moment
of clarity.
that fork in the road.
Yeah, like my mom seeing what did my life look like in her eyes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate you sticking around for the extra scenes here on the podcast.
Thanks again, Turk.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys.